Now, see, now you got me wanting to talk about that. Got me distracted. Oh, welcome to Metron. Hello, hello, hello. Happy July. It, half of 2025's over. Like it never happened. And I was looking back in my Facebook memories, and every year I always post like, "Can you believe half of 2013 is gone?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's long gone." But anyway, we're here. We survived, and I hope everybody had a good. Come in. Hope everybody had a good holiday, and. I'm sorry, I was distracted by Gucci shoes. You can't parade Gucci in front of me. No, I'm going to be distracted. You should have known better. That's like, I'm sure I've told you this before, but when I lived in Covington, I took a hello, those of you who are online, we'll be with you in a moment. A comparative religions class, like at Emory at Oxford, just because I wanted to. It was just interesting, and that was when the church was real big, and I wanted to keep a low profile, so I went in, with a ball cap on. I sat in the back, and it was a nice older Methodist guy that taught it, who was very theologically liberal. I liked him a lot, and so we had to go around the class and introduce ourselves. And so I just said, "Hi, I'm Jim." And he said, "Well, it's an honor to have a bishop in my class." So everybody, of course, turns around and said, "I didn't think you knew who I was. I was trying to keep a low profile." And he says, "Anybody that puts an 80-foot neon sign up in front of his church is not trying to keep a low profile." I was like, "Yeah." So this is what this class is going to be like. The official busting of the chops. Which that sign's not even there now because they had to, they widened the access road, so they took the sign down. But anyway, I figured it was too big to put out here. All right. This is the day the Lord has made. It's the day that the Lord has made through us. It's the day that the Lord has made with us. It's the day that the Lord has made as us. Yes. As He is, so are we in this world. We co-create with God today. Yes. We speak with God, through God, as God, and we say, "Let there be light." Yes. We speak into the void. We say the Spirit is vibrating over the face of the deep. We say that God is, and that they that come to Him must believe that He is. Yes. And that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. Come on. We decree that God is the I am, and therefore we are the I am. We are connected, co-laborers. Yes. We are heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. Come on. We have received the spirit of adoption whereby we cry, "Abba, Father." Holy Spirit, Spirit of God, Paraclete, Parakletos. Yes. We come into this upper room and we open up the windows and we allow the rushing mighty wind to blow and tongues of fire appear on our heads. And in this place where we come up higher to meet with God, we say that something is created today, something is spoken into existence that has not existed before, and we celebrate it and we walk in it and we honor it and we thank you for it. And we say, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits, who forgives all of my iniquities, who heals all of my diseases, who satisfies my mouth with good things so that my youth is renewed like the eagles." Yes. We are renewed today. We are invigorated. Come on. We are illuminated. We are inspired. God is breathing into us. The breath of God is blowing. Breathe on us and in us and through us and as us, God. Spirit of God. God is great and greatly to be praised. Great is the Lord, greatly to be praised in the city of our God and the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful in elevation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great King. Yes. We embrace the city of God, the kingdom of God, the community of God, the family of God. We have received that spirit of adoption. Oh. And everybody said amen. Amen, amen, amen. Y'all get in here. Get in this place. Get in. Get in. Let's do the Lord's Prayer. We're going to have a good day today. Our Father who art in heaven, presence of divine love and light that lives within us and within all of life, hallowed be thy name. We invoke the powerful creative nature of all that is sacred and holy. Thy kingdom come. We embrace the healing essence that is the kingdom of heaven within us. Thy will be done. We accept our greatest good as we align with our divine nature, on earth as it is in heaven, knowing that the affairs of our lives reflect our evolving consciousness. Give us this day our daily bread. Each day we receive great blessings from within and throughout all the activities of our lives. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We accept the divine nature of all things and all people, including ourselves, as we move away from judgment and toward greater awareness of divine presence. And lead us not into temptation. We shall be vigilant in expressing and experiencing the oneness with all life. But deliver us from evil, as we are learning to live without fault-finding and suffering. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. For we accept the consciousness of divine perfection with all its power and glory right here, right now, and forever. Amen. And so it is. Tell somebody next to you, there's nobody I'd rather sit next to than you. And I really mean it this time. I know I said it before, but this time I mean it. Come in, come in, come in, come in. Hello, hello.
How you doing? Mwah.
Hey, bud. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Hello, hello, hello. Come in, come in, come in. Glad to see Tondi with us today. Glad to see Agape with us. Glad that you're all here. And I guess whatever the situation was last week, they must have gotten that fixed. And of course, we're glad to have Ed with us, who's down from Knoxville. Always glad to have him. He's always a part of us. Our outreach, I'm assuming you saw what I posted late last night. You asked me what. I was up late. I thought, I forgot to do that. Our outreach this month is CARE. We've given to them before. It feels a little more significant right now, giving to CARE for a lot of reasons. So we're reaching out to them. Very, very well-vetted, mature, global charity. Also, we've got Meditation Weekend 26 coming up, 3 weeks from now? 4 weeks? We're close. We're going to St. Simon's August 2nd and 3rd. And Ori got a good group going. If you're on the fence whether you should go, yes, you should go. But we have other plans. Cancel your plans and come to St. Simon's. Also, I didn't do a graphic about this because I was going to let him announce it at his church. The last Sunday of August, which is the 31st, that's Judah's birthday. He invited me to come preach there. So I said, we'll just go over there. So I'll have an ad about it next week. But we'll be at the Movement in Conyers Sunday, August 31st. I think August has 5 Sundays this year. Yeah. So I believe that was everything. Charles rode in on a motorcycle today, if you're wondering whose bike that was. Didn't you, Charles?
Yeah.
Is that the same? Is that a new one or is that the one you had before?
That's the same one.
Okay. Well, then could you, if you're in biker mode, can you still play some meditation music for us?
I can. Might sound like the Rolling Thunder.
Then let's do that for a little bit. Sit up straight, both feet on the floor, into your laps. Get your hands relaxed. We're going to bring the lights down. We're going to breathe. We're going to go in through the nose and hold it, and then out through the mouth. So inhale. Big breath. Exhale. Inhale. Fill up your lungs. Get some oxygen to your brain. Hold it. Exhale. Let your shoulders relax. In. Out. In. Out. Just become present and conscious. If you want to think about some things you're grateful for, it's always a good exercise. I'm grateful for all of you today. I'm grateful for this place. I'm grateful that we're allowed to be together. I'm grateful for the relationships in my life. Keep breathing. Just be consistent in your breath. Let yourself relax. Let your thoughts settle down. Don't try to stop thinking. Just let yourself relax into being peaceful. Those of you at home, please join us, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just become meditative wherever you are. Just connect with this moment. This is a holy moment, a sacred moment. You're on holy ground. You're in the presence of God. You're safe. All is well. Now let's affirm, I am blessed. I am a blessing. I am well. I am wellness. I am whole. I am wholeness. I am peaceful. I am peace. I am. Let's give me a couple more really good breaths before we bring the lights back up. In. Out. In. Out. One more really good one. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. come on in. Hello, hello, hello. Y'all have been moved up to the front. They just came in. They came in making demands, making people move over. Those people sitting there minding their business. And Chandra said, "Do you know who I am?" All right. Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you from the Atlanta Theater in the beautiful Kirkwood neighborhood. Metron people, would you welcome the podcast people? Hello, podcast people. Wherever you are. All I listen to now is podcasts. I mean, that's what I love them. And as always, appreciate Charles for making this possible. I do have a good word for you. Let's see how today goes. This may be a series this month. There's several things brewing, and it may take me more than just today to get it all said. So again, we speak into this atmosphere and say, let there be light. Titles of messages and series are always challenging for me. I guess I didn't give a title for last week. Charles, what was that thing? Charles sent me something. He said, "This is what AI suggests you should title this." I couldn't believe. I thought, that's what AI got out of that. That's not what I talked about. And it was like it was like, and I'm all about AI, but it was like a really, it was like 3 lines of a title. It's a lot longer than one of my titles. And I said, no, just call it a good word. And I had a title for this, and then I thought, that's not really what I'm talking about. So I changed it. This is the title. This is where I'm at right now. It could change. I might change this title in the next 5 minutes. I don't know. This is our working title right now. Oh, we got a Bible. Is that a Bible? Or is that just a book? I don't know. Oh, I got it. It's your personal hit. Michelle. I thought that seems odd that Michelle put a big intimidating Bible there. It's not. It's the book of your life. All right. You scared me for a second, Michelle. But then you brought it back. It's personal. Okay, good. We're going to stay with this title then. Managing Your History and Unlocking Your Soul. That is the history book of your life. Okay? Now, let me show you this verse. I've used this verse before because I like the way it's said in the message. I'm going to use it again today kind of for a different reason. But this is out of Romans 14, and this is when Paul talks about this whole thing that was going on in the Roman church about the dispute over whether it was okay to eat meat that had been offered to idols. That seems irrelevant to us because we don't live, at least in that, we still deal with idolatry. That's for sure. It just is very different than it would have been on the other side of the world thousands of years ago. Like if Facebook were available in the time of Paul's writing, people would be all over this. There'd be memes about meat offered to idols. I mean, there'd be a huge division in the church. And I know you know this, but for the same context, let me tell you again. The Roman church was in the city of Rome, which was a pagan city. I mean, they worshipped Dagon and Baal and Diana and all these. So all of these ancient religions just about involved animal sacrifice. That was not exclusive to Israel under the Old Testament. And so when you made a sacrifice to your God of choice, you would bring your finest, like you bring your finest heifer, your finest whatever. You wanted to offer to your God the best that you had. It's the concept of tithing. It's like what they call the first fruits. So it was high quality. What's that kind of Wagyu? Is that what they call that beef that's like the best there is? You would bring, like, you didn't bring something cheap to your God. You brought the best. So once that meat had been butchered and whatever they did to it, or whatever they did in the temple of whatever, butchers would come and buy that meat then, and they would sell it. And so it would be half price. It was good meat. It's just that it was used earlier today or yesterday for temple worship. So for people that didn't have any qualms about that, people just said, that's just a statue in a temple. That's not God. The meat's half price. I can get prime rib at a cut rate, so I'm buying it. So it was a no-brainer for some people. Like, heck yeah, do that. Other people were clutch the pearl scandalized. Like, you're involving yourself in pagan worship. And it was a huge divide. And so Paul, when this part of the letter to the Romans, he's trying to correct this, and he's basically saying it's a non-issue, but if people think it's an issue, he's basically saying just respect their tradition. I think I'm sure I've said this to you before, but when Judah and Jonah were teenagers, you could not get a ball cap off their head. You just couldn't. And so like some places we go to, like a restaurant, I'd say, boys, you got to take your hat off. Like, I'm not taking my hat off. Like, they just were not going to do it. So we'd end up, then we're going to have to go somewhere else. Which I also understand, because when I'm wearing a hat and I got hat head. That's one reason yesterday we were at a funeral and it was about wrapping up and we hadn't eaten yet. So I texted Kid and said, I just made reservations at Houston's for 2:30. And one of the reasons was because I wasn't wearing a hat. Because Houston's don't let you wear a hat. So on those days, when I'm just like rolling out of bed and putting on a hat, we ain't going to Houston's. When they say, sir, you have to take your hat off, I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. I even noticed yesterday, Houston's isn't highfalutin, but I noticed yesterday we were waiting for the car to come up. They were even saying, like, men can't wear flip-flops and stuff, and I thought, wow, note to self. Anyway, so I would have this big dispute with the boys because this severed ties with my neighbor because he invited us to dinner. I said, guys, you have to take your hat off of their house. Well, they just weren't going to do it. And Judah would always challenge me about this. It doesn't mean anything. It's a meaningless ritual. And I would say it may be to you, but we're in their home, so we have to respect them. And no reflection on anyone I was ever married to, but I was married to a very free thinker who bucked tradition a lot, who sided with them strongly. It was 3 against 1. We didn't raise the kids where the parents were like, you had to navigate some situations because they had a mother who agreed. No reflection on her, but that's the way she saw it. It's like, it's a ridiculous tradition. If they want to wear their hats, let them wear their hats. I'm like, all right. Our 70-year-old old school gay neighbor is not going to like this. And he didn't. Because to him, it was disrespect. And the whole time we sat there, the last time he ever invited us to dinner, he really never spoke to me again. And they couldn't understand, like, why is he so upset about it? I said, because he's an old school man from the South, and this, like, to him, this is violating his table. And it was one of those issues. Like, Paul was basically saying, it doesn't matter if this meat was offered to idols or not, but if people think it's important, then honor the fact that they think it's important. So it's in that context that he says this. This is Romans 14:1. This is in the Message. And he says, welcome with open arms fellow believers who don't see things the way you do, and don't jump all over them every time they do or say something you don't agree with. even when it seems that they are strong in opinions but weak in the faith department, remember, and here's the line, and I want to sort of take it out of the context for my purposes today. He says, they have their own history to deal with. Treat them gently. And that's what I want to talk about today, is not only dealing with your history, but dealing with people who are dealing with their history. Now, the 4th of July was this week, day before yesterday, Friday. That's the day before yesterday, right? And so, you know, early in the morning I was scrolling my feed, and it's interesting, among my 5,000 friends on my main page, there's I don't follow 5,000 people, but I'm friends with a lot of people that I'm thinking, I don't even know how I know this person, but as long as they behave themselves, you can stay. And there's some things I look at, they post, I'm like, you're on very thin ice, you're real close to being deleted, but right now, you stay in your lane. What is it they say? Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. Because when you start something, I'm like, oh, hell no, you out. Like, next person in. So I got people who are, it's total diversity in every way. Thoughts, politics, spirituality. And I was reading different people's take on the 4th of July. I saw a lot of friends of mine, people of color, who were posting Frederick Douglass's famous speech in 1852. What relevance does Independence Day have to the slave? And a lot of people were saying, I'm black, I don't observe 4th of July, I observe Juneteenth. And I look at it and think, that's your history. Namaste. I don't even have an opinion about it. And but I also I don't like when any political party thinks they own patriotism. The same way that sometimes I wear my cross because I'm like, yeah, you know, you fundamentalists I could wear the cross if I want to. I can talk about the cross, the blood, the atonement. It's not just your Jesus. He's my Jesus too. And that's the way I feel about the flag. You know, I see a certain president cradle the flag and kiss it, and I'm like, ooh. It's very cringeworthy to me, but I'm like, okay. But I also want to say to people who are of that persuasion, y'all don't own the flag either. America's not perfect, but I do love it. So we got up that morning. We were going to go meet Ed for lunch, and I said, I want to go by Walmart. I just like to wear a T-shirt that expresses something about patriotism. That's a whole issue. Because I mean, some of the T-shirts, like we met his son and daughter-in-law for dinner the other night, and there were people walking around with Gulf of America T-shirts on. I'm like, oh Lord. So, like, y'all know it was called the Gulf of Mexico centuries before there was an America, but I digress. History's not real important to a lot of people. I'll just tell you that. So I want to put on something that says, yeah, I mean, I get if you have a different take on it. I have some issues with America myself, but they're not deal breakers. I've been to other places in the world. I don't want to live anywhere else. So I'd rather exercise what the Constitution encourages us to do, to form a more perfect union. It's not perfect yet by any stretch, but that's the goal. Is it's an experiment. We're still trying to form a more perfect union. Y'all still with me? So I don't want to put on a flag that people are going to misinterpret, is that I'm saying this is my America and it's not your America. I mean, I ran into my Venezuelan neighbor who lives at the loft. I was in the grocery store last week, and because his parents are here visiting, and I said, hey, Miguel, I was curious, is this new list that, because the president has put Venezuela on the list of people who aren't supposed to be here. I said, is that going to be a problem? He said, no. He said, I'm a citizen. I said, I know you are, but I just didn't know. I was like, that's not a loaded question. I think your parents are awesome. They've been living in his unit for the last, I don't know, they've been up here for months. So when I'm at my city home, I see them a lot. And they don't speak English and I don't speak Spanish, but we somehow communicate. And it just got a little weird for a minute just because I asked him that. I'm like, I'm not saying that. I'm just asking, is that you have to learn, maybe there's some things you shouldn't ask. Because I could tell he's sensitive about it. And so I'm trying to be, let me tell you it's a problem when you're open-minded and you're empathetic. You feel everybody's issue. And it makes some things, like I was telling you about when I took my dad and my boys to the Holocaust Museum, and Dad's got a Jesus is Lord cap on with a cross. I'm like, I'm not going in the Holocaust Museum with you. And he's like, I'm not ashamed of Jesus. And I know you're not. I'm not either. But it could be argued that followers of Jesus killed 6 million Jews. And, I don't know, just for today. And he did finally, he didn't get it. But since I was paying for the ticket, he observed. And you know how it is when like even with my kid, I worship my children, but I also, when I'm texting them all, I have to think about, I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying is not passive aggressive, it's a question. And so a lot of times and then they may do that with me, I don't know. But like, I don't know if you edit your text before you hit send, but I do. Because sometimes very innocent questions have been misinterpreted. Basically now with all my kids, it's lots of thumbs up. Smiley face. Y'all rock. And I think that's kind of generational because I recently had a little thing with my mom that she's been backpedaling so much since then. It's actually made my life much more pleasant. Because I can tell she's trying really hard to do something, and I'm like, good. As recently as this morning, I said, hey, you want to see these things? Ken got these, he saw them at y'all's house, BJ, those magnetic things that you put on they dress up the garage door. Oh, yeah. And they're really cool. I'm like, I didn't even know they had a thing of that. So I said, you want to see this thing that Ken put in there? And she walked out there and she said, oh, everything y'all do in this house is awesome. I'm like, yes, ma'am, it is. And I said, are you good for lunch? She says, I love everything you bring. Now, I know all y'all's families are perfect, so y'all don't have to deal with any of the things. So I was thinking about, like, even the shirt that I got. I liked it because it was and I started even to Google this organization because apparently it's an organization that contributes to veterans. So I thought, okay, well, I can believe in that. That's good. And I think I ended up with a shirt that just said, freedom and liberty. I'm like, everybody good with that? And so then, usually they always have a fireworks show at Centennial Park. So usually we just take the elevator up a floor and go out in the roof patio and watch the fireworks. It's great. Last year we were in Panama City, and that was incredible. We sat out on the beach, and there were fireworks shows all up and down the beach. It was beautiful. But we're over in Stone Mountain, so I said, "You want to do the Stone Mountain thing?" We will not do that again. But it was interesting because a part of me, are y'all uncomfortable with me talking about this? Okay. Because a part of me, I'm thinking, when I go to Stone Mountain, I don't want any black people to see this and think I'm something that I'm not. It's just simple. Well, I get there, and believe me, lots of black people in Stone Mountain are all about 4th of July. Red, white, and blue, and flags, and Happy 4th. I thought, okay, I guess you didn't see some of the posts I saw this morning. And it was way too many people in that park. Too many people. But among the people, there's some like average Stone Mountain white people and average Stone Mountain black people. And then there's lots of people speaking Spanish. And lots of Asian people speaking whatever their language of their country is. And lots of Muslim women wearing burqas. And I'm like, they come into America. I'm singing, and I mean, so many people, there's so many, English is so much not the dominant language, at least among this crowd, that I'm looking for, like, I hope ICE doesn't show up and something goes down tonight, because there's a lot of Spanish people here who don't seem to be nervous about, yelling in Spanish, speaking in Spanish. I'm like, y'all might want to keep it down a little bit outside if a truck rides up with some guys in camo, you might end up in a country that you're not even from. And we don't know if you're going to get out. And my point in saying that, in line with that, is not everybody in the world sees the world the way that you do. Why? Because they have a history. Yeah. And you have to acknowledge their history. I mean, Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You could just as easily say, honor someone else's history as you would have them honor yours. Yeah. And the reason I also titled this Unlocking the Soul, just within the last, it's been since we've lived back in the house in Stone Mountain, I had this conversation with my mom. And have you ever gotten a piece of information that answers so many things? My dad was, I can't even call him a clean freak, because clean freaks, it's too liberal a term. I mean, germaphobe to the max. I mean, I grew up my whole life being told, don't walk heavy through the living room because you'll stir up dust. Yeah, that was the whole, and I used to hear stories about how when, because I was bottle fed, and when he'd fix my bottles, he'd boil the nipples until they melted, because he didn't think they were clean enough. And at one point, pediatrician actually told them, the problem with your son is he's too clean. You're keeping him in such a sterile environment that he has no antibodies. You have to let him crawl on the floor. And my dad's like, but there's germs on the floor. I'm like, yes, there's germs everywhere. And so I just always thought, that was his quirk. And, anytime you came to the table, he's asking, did you touch that? I mean, it was like, we lived in a very sterile environment. Well, I wasn't close to his parents. I think one time in my childhood I spent the night at their house. And nothing bad with him, we just weren't, he was closer to my mom's parents than he was to his own parents. And we were talking about something that came up, and I said, Mom, do you remember when it was my freshman year of college, and my mom and my grandmother Swilley drove down to Lakeland to visit me, which was unusual because they weren't friends. But somehow they ended up coming down. It was like it was a nice, my grandmother brought me a red velvet cake that she made, and it was like a good trip. And my mom said, yeah, she said it was fine, but she said, your grandmother, she wouldn't touch anything in the hotel room where we stayed. She wouldn't sleep on hotel sheets. We had to strip the bed, and she put her own sheets on. She wouldn't use any utensil. And as she said, I said, Grandmother Swilley was like that? And she said, yeah. I said, you just answered so many questions for me. Like, oh, no wonder my dad was like that. He's raised by a crazy person. I mean, I immediately felt several demons come out of me. Just like that. I was like, oh, that just answered so many things. I forgive you. But then I'm thinking, what would make her that much of a clean freak? And I'm not trying to play psychologist here, but I was thinking, I saw one time before they tore it down, I saw the little house where he was born in 1933, and it was like a shack. It was, they were not hungry because they lived on a farm, but it was what you would ride by and just think dirt poor in the country. He used to, in his sermons, he would say, I was born behind the swamp, behind this, and sure enough he was. I thought it was an exaggeration, but when I saw where he grew up, I thought, good Lord, that's where y'all lived? And I thought, you know, I imagine, I don't think poverty would have affected everybody the same way, but I would think if you don't have, like if you're rich, if money's no object, you could throw something away and buy a new one. If you only get one thing a year, your cleanliness takes on a greater import. Do you understand? It's like, it's one of the few things you can control. I don't have a lot, but what I have, it's going to be clean. And like I've heard other people say, you know, we were raised in the ghetto or whatever, but my mother we always did the white glove treatment. And I think it's probably a sense of, it's the only thing I have power over is the hygiene here. So it became, I'm not saying rich people are dirty, I'm just saying it means something to people who don't have a lot. Does that make sense? And I'm only saying that, and let me give you this disclaimer before I go on with this, in case I refer to, because I'm going to refer to an interaction I had with Ed the day before yesterday. I didn't think I was going to, but I am. I know you're like, oh dear God, if he talks about his dad one more time. It's not bad. And somebody, they're not here today, and this person loves me very much. They may be watching, so you have no idea who I'm talking about. Somebody within recent weeks said something about me sounding bitter when I talk about my parents. I said, I don't think you're perceiving that correctly. I'm very transparent about stuff I deal with. Bitterness is not one. If I were bitter, I could have never stayed in the ministry for 53 years. Because I know a lot of people who are in the ministry for years that are horrible, horrible people. I'm not that. I am not bitter. I want to understand stuff. And it's not just because of me, it's because the only way I know how to teach is through my life example. If it's not working for me, I don't know how to tell you it's going to work for you. So when I'm trying to unlock my own mysteries, it's not because I'm self-absorbed, it's because I live to teach. And if I find out something, I want to share this information with you. This may help you understand your history so that you can unlock your soul. You still with me? Yes. So in all due respect to the person who said that, no, you called that one wrong. Bitterness is not my jam. I'm not bitter. Yeah.
If you were bitter, you would not carry such a heavy anointing.
Thanks for coming. If you didn't hear that, Rosalind said, if you were bitter, you wouldn't carry such a heavy anointing. I received that. Because bitterness is not cool. I mean, it's not cool. So, that being said, let me tell you where I'm going with this. But let me show you. Let me go ahead and get these out of the way, and I'll talk about what I really want to talk about. Here's the next thing I want to show you. This is this quote is actually attributed to 2 or 3 different people, but most people agree it was Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. And the quote is, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." I love that quote. It's a great quote about getting your life in perspective. Here's the next thing. Svetlana Alexievich says this: "I believe that in each of us there is a small piece of history. In one half a page, in another 2 or 3. Together we write the book of time. We each call out our own truth." And then this little fraction of a sentence she uses, "the nightmare of nuances." Do you know what a nuance is? A nuance is something that's subtle. Like, for instance, have you ever had somebody say something to you and something felt off? It felt accusatory or racist or misogynist or homophobic or something, and it wasn't what they said, and you think, am I just being hypersensitive? Why did that leave me feeling a certain way? And some other person might hear it and say, oh, no, I think you're overreacting. And like I've been around church people so much, there's just I've forgotten more than most people know about church. Like I can really tell what church you're from by things you say and the questions you ask, and you just listen to somebody. Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. You just hear somebody talk, you kind of tell sort of where they're coming from, but everything is built on nuance. Let me move on. This is a meme. You've probably seen this before, but it's so true. It says, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. I couldn't agree more. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but I bought a new refrigerator for the house. And we had some issues with it, which I'm going to talk about. But yesterday, the guys came back a second time. Hold that thought. I want to tell you this, but it's going to scatter me too much. Hold that thought. I'll come back to that. Just wait. All right, this is number 5. This is Galatians 5:22 and 23 in the New King James Version. Paul actually lists 9 things here, but I want to especially focus on the word gentleness. But the fruit of the Spirit is gentleness, all right? That's why I said be kind, be gentle. Paul said be easy with people. They're dealing with their histories. And I'll tell you something else. You might not know where somebody's come from. You might be judgmental of them, and you have no idea what they've overcome.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, have you ever had one of those days where you walk into church and you think, y'all just need to be glad I made it here today?
Amen.
Right.
Hold that thought. I'm going to show you. This is Galatians 5:22 and 23 in the Message. And I filled in the rest of it. But what happens when we live God's way? He brings gifts into our lives much the same way that fruit appears in an orchard. Things like affection for others, exuberance about life, serenity. We develop a willingness to stick with things, a sense of compassion in the heart, and a conviction that a basic holiness permeates things and people. We find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, not needing to force our way in life, able to marshal and direct our energies wisely. I love this. Legalism is helpless in bringing this about. It only gets in the way. That's why he calls it the fruit of the Spirit. An apple tree doesn't try to grow apples. It's the fruit of it. It can't help. If it's planted right, it can't help but produce apples. And Jesus said, you know people by their fruit. What are they producing in their life? Okay? So, I've been at the house in Stone Mountain 5 months now. Right? And I was working there for about a month before I moved my mom back in there, so it's like half a year. And the house was built in 1976. It's a nice house. When my dad bought it in 2013, he did a lot of stuff to do some renovations, because I think it was owned by the original owners, and they really hadn't, they were an older couple. They went to assisted living. So there's a lot of things that just didn't get taken care of. And when he was moving in there, I don't know where I was. I think I was going through a media blitz at the time, and so I wasn't involved in any of that. But they did a lot of things. They replaced flooring. They did a lot of things. And he took a lot of pride in it. There was one night, just a few weeks before he passed, I took him for a walk, and he didn't know who I was. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know. I mean, he was just very disconnected that night. And I could tell he was having difficulty walking. I said, Dad, let me get you in the house. I need to sit you down and get you something to drink. So I sat him down. I got him something to drink. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with anybody with dementia. It's like, it's not like flipping on a light switch. It's like sometimes they're very lucid. And he had no idea who I was, anything. And all of a sudden he looked up and he looked in the kitchen and he said, you know, when we moved in here, we replaced all new appliances. Like, he started telling me everything they did. And I said, you know where you are? He said, yeah, this is my house, my kid. Like, all of a sudden that triggered him. And he spoke of it with a lot of pride, which he should have. He paid cash for that house. And, you know, my Aunt Clarice, I think, was the one that ordered stuff for them online. And he was like, get whatever we need. And so they did a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff they didn't do upstairs, which I've inherited, because, you know, that's where we live, which is fine. And we've done, and I'm looking around this morning when I got in the shower, I was like, yep, that was everything. I'm like, there was $1,500, that was $2,000, that was, you know, it's like ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And several things I was not anticipating, I not budgeted for, but I've been able to rise to the occasion, and like wasn't expecting septic tank to be $4,000, but okay, you know, like got to be done. People got to flush toilets, so you know, some kind of way God's going to make a way, and God has. So, but one thing that needed to be replaced, and I was going to do it before I moved in, and then other things ended up taking priority, and I ended up retiling the foyer and painting and just a lot of things I was not planning on when I moved in there. You know that whole thing that happened I told you about when Jared left the water on and I didn't know about it? It was a problem, but it ended up being a blessing because it forced me to do some things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. And actually, the way the insurance, I actually made like $1,500 off of it. You know, so it was one of those things. Let me tell you something about the whole thing about all things work together.
Right, come on.
All the stuff that sucks works together too.
Yeah.
The all things work together doesn't mean it's the good things, the happy things. It's also the stuff that you nearly lost your mind over still works together for good. What was it, Ragu that used to do that, advertise their spaghetti sauce, and the chef would say, it needs oregano, and the person would go, it's in there. They would say, it's in there. Garlic, it's in there. That's kind of, when things work together, it's like, yeah, it's in there. And it ain't all happy stuff, but it's somehow it worked together for good. All right. So when my dad bought I just know the way that he thought, and the big refrigerator that they got, I'm sure he must have said, wherever they bought it from, he must have just said, just give me the top of the line. So they got this big refrigerator that did all kind of stuff, all kind of bells and whistles. Like if you leave the door open too long, an alarm goes off, and which is nice, but it's also it's like it nearly does too much. Yeah. You know, you want to say, refrigerator, I appreciate it, but if you'll just keep stuff chilly, that will be fine. You're kind of doing too much. And then the other problem with it is there's something wrong with it all the time. So much so, like they used to have a repairman come out because it was always something. You know, there's water all over the kitchen floor. Like it was either leaking or buzzing or popping or blinging or something. And it's just like, I know it's a good refrigerator, but it's just it's too much. And so even back when they first moved in there, because they were having issues with it then. And I would say, Dad, why don't y'all just get what y'all are spending on repairing this refrigerator? You could have bought three or four refrigerators now. Just get a new one And he would say, do you know how much we pay? I said, I know, it's top of the line, I'm sure. It sings, it blings, it dances, it's great, it's the most awesome. We bow before it. It's just that it's a colossal pain in the butt. And like every 2 or 3 days, there's a thing going on. And even when Jared lived there, like he would tell me like, Mimi called this repairman, but I don't like him. He's some Ukrainian guy, and I think I'm just going to do it myself. And I'm like, figure it out, and Jared would do something. Like there was because Jared suspects everybody that comes out. Me, I'm just like, how quick can you get it done? So we're motivated very differently. And so the refrigerator just kind of became a thing that like, oh God, anytime Mom would say, the refrigerator's leaking, I'm like, of course it is. I'll get on it as soon as I can. So I had planned on it, but then because all these other projects, are y'all still with me? All these other projects kind of put it to the back of the line, and it's one of those things that's like, well, I guess we figured it out, and it like a couple of times last week I'd come in and Mom had paper towels. I've been working for 2 hours on this thing. I said, I'm getting a new one. This is ridiculous. And then the other thing, and I'm not saying this out of bitterness, I'm saying this out of transparency. Remember when I told you I moved in there and anywhere I had a negative memory, I changed the energy on it? Well, 72 hours before my dad crossed over, the last thing he ever said to me was at that refrigerator about the refrigerator. And it's not something you want to hear the last words of your father say. Some of you know, I've told you. And I've worked through that. I mean, I've been through enough stuff in the last 6 months. I'm like, it was what it was. He said what he said. I'm not traumatized over it. So one night this week, I just thought, you know what? I'm just getting a new refrigerator. I go online, I order it. Okay, it'll come quick. I mean, you order something online, it's there like 24 hours later, 40. And so, okay, fine. And I thought, I'll need to disconnect that refrigerator. What is it, the ice maker that's hooked? Let me explain to y'all. I know you have tired of hearing this. I have to explain to you what this layout is. I don't even know if you can capture it. This is the way. There's a full basement in this house, all right? So you go downstairs and it's full of stuff. It's all of my books, which are a lot. And I don't know, Jared's got stuff down there, Jonah's got stuff. It's like, it's a lot down there. But then, according to what Ken told me yesterday, he said when they built this house, it was probably not built for a refrigerator with an ice maker. Probably in 1976, those people just had ice trays. Okay, fine. So that means if you're going to do something on the thing, you have to turn this, what is it, a valve or something? He said, well, that sounds easy. Let me explain to you what you have to do. You have to go down in the basement, you have to climb up on stuff and go through this little opening. When you go through the opening into the pitch black darkness, the way they dug out that basement, it's like the side of a hill that comes down. And it's steep. So you have to crawl over these 2x4s to get up under where the valve is to turn the ice maker off so that they can switch out the refrigerator. It may not sound that much.
Also, you just don't have a little water bottle in the back of the refrigerator.
Right.
Regular folks like we do when we bought ours.
Well, that's great for you. Good for you. In your big mansion in Conyers. Some of the rest of us from the ghetto don't have all of that. Yes, and we went yesterday to look for a valve like that. And for some reason you couldn't get it or something. Anyway, whatever it was, I knew that was going to be an issue, but I thought, I'm just going to have to get this guy to do it because I'm not even know where exactly you do the thing. And if I have to pay him to do it, I'll do it. It's fine. I mean, I knew water, it had to be disconnected, but I thought, I don't know how to do it. And so the guys came. They're on the way, and this would have been what? Wednesday morning of this week? Thursday morning. While I was ordering this, I thought, you know what? Also, while I'm doing stuff, we need new mattresses up here. The mattresses, when we lived there before, I slept in a different room because I was up all night taking care of Dad, and I was like, you just need to sleep because you got to get up at 5 o'clock. So we're still kind of in that mode. We still love each other, but it's like, hey, I love you. I'm across the hall. We can still communicate. Like a few weeks ago when there was an earthquake, I was like, did you feel that? So anyway. And those mattresses, they need to be replaced. And they're those pillow top mattresses. Let me tell you what's the problem with those. You can't find a sheet that fits them. Like they're full-size beds, but a full-size fitted sheet does not fit on it because it's got that pillow thing that pops up. And then you buy a queen sheet and it's all baggy and hanging up. So I'm sitting on this mattress the other night and I thought, I'm through with this. While I'm just spending the rest of whatever money I have, I might as well. You know, when you get to a certain point, you're just spending so much money, you're like, what else do you want?
What else do we need? That's right. Let me get it now.
And then I even said, I thought, let me see, maybe I could finance this. And so I wrote, and sure enough, they immediately, you have this much, I don't need that much, no. Devil is a lie. But I can get a couple of mattresses delivered. That's fine. We have a purple mattress at the loft, and we like that a lot. And so I thought, we'll just get that. So as the guys are en route the other day, I get this thing that they're sending the mattresses to the loft. I'm like, no. I need them sitting here. Because that's going to be a whole issue. I'm on the phone with FedEx. I'm on the phone with Purple. I'm trying to get it redirected. And that's a whole thing, and you're like, we're not going to be here on the 4th of July. And it's like, oh man, that means I'm going to have to get a U-Haul it, and I'm going to be by myself and trying to drag these, I've got to get them here. I don't need them at the loft, and I don't want the concierge to send them back. I know it doesn't sound like that big, but like there was a lot of stuff. I need to call the concierge and say, look, if these mattresses come there, please tell me you're not going to send them back. Because I've got to go get a U-Haul it and go pick them up and drag them up those stairs by myself, figure out what to do with the mattresses that are currently on the thing. Ken's a huge help when he's there, but he's not there during the week, and I got to get stuff done. So it was already just a little bit of a stressful morning, okay? So the guys get there, and I said, look, this thing has not been disconnected yet, but I can show you where it is. And he said, oh, we don't do that. I said, I'll pay you. He said, no, we're not allowed to do that. So I'm calling Ken. I said, Ken, look, the guys are here with the refrigerator, and I paid them to haul the other one off. And do you think you could can you just walk me through it? And he said, the only way I could think to do it is you have to do FaceTime so I can see what you're looking at. It's totally black under there. So we're going back and forth, and he's calling me back and giving alternatives. Like, maybe you could go out to the street and just turn the water off. I'm like, okay, well, I don't have the key that does that. He said, you can do it with, you didn't call them pliers. What did you call? Channel locks? I didn't know what the hell he's talking about. I said, channel locks? It's like you speak in a foreign language. I said, can you spell that? What do you say? And he said, pliers. I said, oh, pliers. I know what pliers are. Why didn't you call them pliers? So I got the Javier, who was not in a good mood, is like telling me what he's not going to do. I got Purple Mattress and FedEx on the other line. I got Ken on another line. Meanwhile, the remaining poodle is under our feet barking at the guys. And I'm like, Mom, could you please take the poodle out there? And she's like, I need my tea. I'm like, I'll get you your tea, but I've got there's not room in this kitchen for the dog and the tea. And she's got to get her phone. And then she says to me, you need to calm down. Let me tell you something about telling somebody to calm down. It has the reverse effect. I said, Mom, I'm calm. I'm dealing with a lot. Please take the dog in the other room and don't tell me to calm down again. At which time Javier says, sir, you need to calm down. I was like, Javier, I'm going to need you not to say that again. I'm very calm. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So he can't get it done. So Javier's like, well, why don't we just I can set up the refrigerator in the garage. Because meanwhile, I've already taken all the food out of the refrigerator. I waited for the stuff in the freezer till very last minute. But it's like there was a lot of going on while people were telling me to calm down. I'm like, I'm trying to get all this stuff out of the... So I'm calling him back. He's like, why are they going to set up? I'm like, I don't know. You and Javier talk. I don't know. So, long story short, and I'm leaving a bunch out, believe it or not. They end up just leaving the refrigerator in the garage. And he says, let me know when you can get this thing disconnected and we'll send somebody back. All right, here's this number. Well, that number, when you call it, they're like, oh, we don't, if one more person tells me we don't handle that. What area code you calling from? 404. Oh, we don't do Georgia. Like, could you give me a number that does Georgia? Because I'm in Georgia. So, bottom line is, I'm looking at this refrigerator. I'm like, I just can't get this thing out of this house. I've been wanting this thing out of this house for years, especially the last 6 months. And it's just not going anywhere. It's just mocking me. And it was like out in the middle of the kitchen floor now. Just a leaking and a beeping and a beeping and a leaking. It was doing stuff. I don't even know this thing could do that. It's just like whatever obnoxious thing you can think of, it's just doing it. And I'm like, there's no way I can't get it out of this house. It's just not going anywhere. I'm stuck with this big. So meanwhile, later in the day, I come back and Mom's talking to her very hard of hearing twin brother, them yelling at each other over the phone, and she's saying, no, it's not right because Jared didn't put it in. I said, oh God, Mom, please, this has nothing to do with Jared. Please, in Jesus' name, tell me you didn't call Jared. Because she interpreted it, he did something wrong I said, no. What he did was fine. What he did saved me money. Please. Because my mom will do stuff like that. She's like, your dad can't get this. I'm like, oh God in heaven, please don't get and don't get me wrong, Jared's been a lifesaver. I'm just saying, this is not his problem now. And there's a part of me that doesn't want my kids to know the stuff that I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I wish several things yesterday he was just taking care of. I said, I wish I knew that vernacular. Stuff that you take for granted. I have no idea, and I don't want to do something wrong. I don't want to be unhooking a thing and I break something or, make it worse because I'm just completely out of my element. It's not that I'm too good to do it. The first house I bought in Conyers had a small crawl space, and that pilot light was always going out, and I hated it, but I'd crawl in them. I mean, I can do it if I have to. I'm not afraid. It's just, that's not my area. So, 4th of July came, and I thought, I'm just going to put this on hold. We're just going to try to enjoy the day. I knew Ed was in town. So I texted him. I said, you want to meet us for lunch? I said, where's a good 4th of July place to go? That was going to Fat Matt's. We'll get some ribs, and that feels good. So he met us there. And so we're just talking about it. And I said, it's not that there's all this trauma about the refrigerator. It's just that it's not only just a pain, it's like the last bad memory I have, and it's like I can't escape it. It's not only beeping and leaking, it's reminding and accusing, and it's like the devil in my kitchen. It's like a big stainless steel, or not stainless steel, but big, whatever it's made out of. It just starts representing so many negative things. Before I get to this next part, I've always been interested in this idea of energy being attached to certain inanimate objects. It's a very interesting concept. Like when I first bought my house in Covington was built in 1900, and we first moved in there. I don't believe in ghosts, but we had some very strange stuff happen. 3 o'clock in the morning, all the lights in the house come on. Just things like that. One night, Debbie and I were sitting there watching TV, and the guy that lived there, sometime in the 40s, he enclosed a porch, and because he was a doctor, and his waiting room was part of the veranda, and they had a little beveled glass door on it. We were sitting there watching TV one night, and just pretty as you please, the door just goes. We both looked at it. One night, I was sitting there watching TV late at night, just right behind me, I hear somebody go, ah. I turned around fully expecting to see somebody. It never felt evil, but there was definitely something. So when I would talk to other people that lived in vintage houses, they would all say, when you move into an old house or when you remodel an old house, stuff gets stirred up. And everybody had stories. So when people would ask me, do you believe in ghosts? I would say, no, I don't believe in ghosts. I do believe in energy, and I think sometimes energy is still in a geographical location, especially if there was something that was unresolved. And so I was just Googling it, and... Huh?
I said, my God.
You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Just hang on. So this is Google AI. It says the idea that objects can hold energy from past experiences or owners is a common belief often discussed in spiritual and metaphysical contexts. While not scientifically proven, some believe that objects can retain imprints or vibrations from those who have interacted with them, particularly if the objects were frequently used or held significant emotional value. This concept is sometimes linked to psychometry, a psychic ability to perceive information about an object's history through touch or close proximity. Like, have you ever seen somebody go to a fortune teller and they'll say, they want to know about somebody and they'll say, give me something that belonged to them. And they want to feel, because they want to pick up on the vibe. I'm not trying to get you to believe it or not believe it. I'm just saying a lot of people believe that, okay? Reba and I have talked about this a lot. She believes, because like when she used to buy vintage clothes, she said, you have to, things you have to say over those clothes because people bring energy, like the whole thing. Have I lost some of y'all? All right. It gets better. It's important to note that these energy imprints are not considered to be actual spirits or ghosts, but rather residue or vibrations from past experiences. So, we're sitting at Fat Matt's Friday, and we're just catching up about stuff. It's not like, whatever. And I'm telling Ed about my day, because if you saw my post that night, we were sitting on the porch, and I said, it's been a very stressful day, but it was one of those, it's not like I punched anybody out or cussed them out. I'm just thinking, why did I get so, because I did get really upset. And I'm trying to analyze, I think I'm upset because I get frustrated, I don't know how to do certain stuff. And it makes me feel, I don't know, it triggers a lot of things. Like, hold that thought. When Judah was doing that Preachers of Atlanta thing, they set up a scenario where he came over to my loft. They had 30 people crammed into my loft with, and you have to go through, they put film over all my plate glass window because you have to take the glare off, and you have to go through and make sure there's no artwork that is the intellectual property of anybody. So I had to take a picture down. And let me tell you, I know how to drive a nail in a wall, okay? But I'm trying to put up one of my own paintings, and I can't get I was having trouble with the nail. So the director says, hey, you know what? Let's set that up as a scenario. I said, what do you mean? He said, like you can't get the nail in the wall and Judah comes over and he has to do it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And he said, yeah, but that would be like, it would be kind of funny and they'll put some, I said, no, I know how to drive a nail in a wall. You're not going to come here and do some kind of gay stereotype that I can't drive a freaking nail. I know how to do that. And he said, yeah, it would just be funny. I said, no, I'm a public figure. I have a following. Right. I mean, I'm not going to do something like that. And we immediately locked horns. He said, you're being difficult. I said, no, you're asking me to do something that's going to impute, it's going to make it look like I'm this helpless, sad old gay dad, can't even drive a damn nail in the wall. I have to have my straight son. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Call the thing off then. I'm not doing that.
Right, that part.
So I'm sure on days like that, I'm like, this would be so easy if Ken was here. He could do this blindfolded. But for me, I don't know how to do all this stuff, and I don't want to make it worse. So we're just shooting the breeze, talking to Ed, and Ed says to me, he says, do you think your dad doesn't want you to take the refrigerator out of the house? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, was your dad a control freak? I said, yeah, but like just in a leadership way. And let me give you this disclaimer. My dad was not stingy at all. Generosity was a strong point with him. But he was very territorial. Like he would give me anything, but I wasn't supposed to touch his stuff. And I get that. I'm the same way. I'm very much about personal space. Like, sometimes I'll say to Ken, like, I'm out of deodorant. Do you have something? Yeah, go in my bag. I'm not going to rifle through your bag. Just go. I'm like, I just don't like I don't like to go through people's stuff because I don't want somebody rifling through my stuff. You can call it an only child thing. I'm just very much about personal space. You reach in your bag and hand me the can of deodorant. Does that sound crazy? But I'm just like, no, I expect the same thing. So I don't want to do that. That's your bag. I don't want to be like, it's like, no, I don't even think for married people. I think people have to keep some kind of parameters. So we're talking and, Ed listens, it was like talking to you. He's like retaining everything I've ever said. And he said, well, he said, like, for instance, he said, do you think your dad would have wanted you to move that desk out? I said, oh, no. The whole time I'm trying to get that thing, I'm like, oh, hurry before he gets back. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm like, he's going to come in a minute. He's going to be so mad that I'm moving this desk out. So, the people from Goodwill, remember I told you, I'm not kidding. You cannot believe how insanely heavy this mahogany desk was. And I'm not saying women can't lift. It's just like, it was a man and a woman helping me. I said, is there anybody else coming? She says, I can lift. I said, I'm not. This is not a misogynistic statement. It's just, I don't think you understand how heavy this thing is. So as we're trying to get it down the steps, it starts, I could literally feel my sternum crushing against it. And I'm like, you're crushing me. You're crushing me. And I thought, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. Like, this desk is not leaving this house. Ed looked at me and he said, just tell him to stop. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I don't mean in a bad way. He said, do you think your dad was very protective and wanted to make sure everything was okay and that your mom was okay? Maybe the energy is he feels like that's being violated. He said, why don't you just say to him, because I've already had some talks with him since I've been there, like, the house is great, I'm doing everything, honoring your space. But he said, maybe that energy, do you understand? I'm not saying my dad's a ghost that's haunted. I'm saying that energy that was attached.
Yeah.
It may sound simple to you, but I'm telling you, it was like, I said, Ed, you just shifted my tectonic plates. Because I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
With all his limitations, the presence of my dad is not malevolent. He was not a bad man. But he was a very strong personality. And when you've had a strong personality and you've lived here for 86, 87 years, you leave an imprint. So we went on and talked, and I said, we talked about some other things, but I said, you know, that's very simple, but very insightful, because this refrigerator represents too much, especially because this is where he spoke. His last words to me were, "This is my refrigerator." That was the last thing I heard him say. So I feel it a lot when I open the refrigerator to get something out. I'm like, I'm just in here quiet. I know it's yours. So cut to Saturday morning. You know, when you're waiting for because I need these delivery people to come out. Ken's here now. He can disconnect the thing, and they can install the new refrigerator and haul the old one off. Y'all still with me? So it's one of those days where it has lots of moving parts. For instance, they said your delivery people will be there between 9 and 1. Okay, that sounds about typical. Y'all remember Stephen that used to come here and he was my trainer? His wife passed away last week. 36 years old. She had not been sick. It was kind of a perfect storm of several things that happened. So she tragically passed away. So I wanted to go to the funeral. But the funeral was at 1 o'clock at Willie Watson over in West End. So I'm thinking, I told Ken, I said, I got to get this refrigerator in. I said, if they'll come on like around 9 o'clock, 9:10, we'll still have time to get ready and get over to West End. If they don't come till 1 o'clock, we just can't go. I want to go to the funeral, but this has got to get done. I've got to, second time I've got food all out on the counter. You don't think refrigeration's a big deal. Trying to go without it for a few hours. So yesterday morning, I'm just sitting out there, and I'd already talked to Dad a little bit about it, but that's when we texted yesterday morning. And, but I'm sitting there, and so when Kid's there on the weekends, if he wants to sleep late, I really guard that, because that's the only time he gets to do that. So however late he wants to sleep, and we got blackout shades and sleep, because he gets up early in the morning and works hard and everything. So, but I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I've got to have him. All right, we didn't get in until 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So I'd already gotten up. I'm thinking, what's everything I can do to get this thing to move as quickly as it can? Move my car down to the street so that the truck could come right up to the garage. Go ahead and take all the food out of the refrigerator. I'll save the freezer stuff for the last minute. What else can I do? And I didn't want sometimes they'll say, we are 5 minutes away. And I'm like, I've got to go wake him up. He's got to get his contacts in. And I got to I'd already gone down to the basement, flipped on all the lights. Everything's right ready to go. But when it's showtime, places, everybody, I got to get you crawling across those 2x4s to cut that thing off that I don't know how to cut off, because this guy's at the door and I got to have him here, and we got to get this done so we can get ready and get to Willie Watson's. Well, usually when they, like the couple of days before, they had said, your number 12 in line. So you kind of get a ballpark. This will probably be a couple hours. Well, I hadn't gotten anything like that. So it's getting, it's 9 o'clock now, and I haven't heard from anybody. I need to check this out. So I start calling. We start going through we don't handle oh, Lord, no, don't do the we don't handle thing. And it was just, I thought, you know what? We're not in there. They don't have me in this system. I'd already gotten an email that says, your refrigerator was delivered. I'm like, yeah, it was delivered. It's sitting in a crate in a garage right now. I need it functioning, and I need the sad, scary, angry, dripping, beeping, leaking refrigerator. I need it out. And I need it out symbolically. And I thought, do not tell me they don't have me in this system. And as God is my witness, I sat there for a minute. I thought, all right, I believe what you said to me was a word from the Lord. I said, Dad, wherever you are, I'm speaking to you, your energy, whatever. I need you to let stuff go. Not in a mean way. I recognize this was your house, and you paid for it, and you bought that refrigerator, and it was great. You did great. You bought top of the line. And I said, if you're worried about Mom, yes, I get frustrated with her. Yes, on occasion, I get loud with her, but you know I'm always going to take care of her. So you need to, if there's still some energy that you've got here where you're trying, and your exact words are, you need to tell him this isn't your house anymore. Which is something I would have never said to him when he was alive. But I said, Dad, you don't live here anymore, and I've got this. You need to let it go. Before God, and when I said those words, everything started working. It was like the damn bird, like I got a call. We're 5 minutes away. You are. I went upstairs. Ken was already up. Bed had already been made. He's already putting his contacts in. I'm like, yes, Jesus. Because I was already thinking, this is going to be really bad if I'm like, Ken, get up. They're here. We got to crawl through the portal. You got to climb on the thing. I got to shine the light. There's so many movable parts of this thing. Places. He was already moving. And I don't know what hurt. Was it your back that hurt when you got on there? He was like, oh, like, I know this is painful. I'm sorry. It was your knees. And I'm shining I'm sorry, but you have to do this. You have to. It was the last thing you do for me. You have to do this. So we get up there, and the thing that had to be, these were two different guys who were in a worse mood than the guys 2 days before. They were screaming at each other. So what was the cable you had to disconnect from behind it? The water line. They don't do that. I know. He said, oh, we don't do that. He said, do you have some pliers? What are they called again? Channel locks. You mean channel locks? Ken goes, I'll do it. So I'm like, yeah, he'll do it. What? Tay, that was his name. So we get it done, and the guys are screaming at each other. And they can hardly get it. You know, I'm like, why don't they make these houses with wider doors to try to get stuff through them? Anyway, we finally get out there. I walk out, and I said, Tay, do you have a cash app I can tip you off? Well, he immediately got nicer. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm yelling at that guy, but we're having a bad morning. I said, was he deaf? He said, no, he's Dominican. He doesn't speak English. And I said, well, huh? Exactly. So I said, what's your number? So it's like, he says 486. So I'm putting it in. I'm like, no, I'm about to send you $486. That's not what I mean. And he's like, that's fine. No, I'm not tipping you that much. So I said, I'm sending you 50. You share it with him. And everything got, and the way it worked out, we got it, because there's a bunch getting it set up. You got to get all the food back in. You got to just take all the stuff off. There's just a lot of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? If we get ready right now, we can make it. We can make it to the funeral. And we did. And we got there in time. We're processing in, so Stephen got to see that we were there and, and all of that. What's that got to do with honoring people's history? All right. There's some things I'm never going to agree with. Like there's certain political persuasions that people have. There's no point in you telling me your viewpoint because I'm not there with you. I might want to try to understand why you embrace what you embrace. It might help me deal with you better. Okay? So, Bishop, what is this teaching actually about? Are you talking about objects have energy attached to them? Partly, yes. And all it takes is, Jesus said, just speak to the mountain. When he said, just tell your dad to stop it. I know that sounds so simple. But I'm like, you know what? You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And so when they took that refrigerator off, I can't tell you, it was like, oh my God, I felt such liberty. And I said, Mom, now this new refrigerator, it opens this way. But it's not, and she says, no, it's even better. She's good with it. She walked out in the front porch last night. We had one of the best talks we've ever had. She was talking about, I just watched this thing about Ruth and Boaz and about being left-handed. And I said, I don't know anything about that. And it was like it was good. We just had good interaction. It was like something just shifted. It just feels easier and better. And again, do you understand? My dad was not a bad man. I just needed that energy out of the house because it's old energy. It's irrelevant now.
Right.
That's why when you said, just tell him to stop it, tell him it's not his house anymore. I wasn't saying it like, it's mine. I'm like, you fought a good fight. You kept the faith. Mm-hmm. You don't have to manage here anymore. Right. I got it. Right. Bishop, did it make a difference? It did yesterday. Yeah. Soon as I said it, it was like finding the password. But there it is, and it all opened up. I may talk about this some more next week, so let's make this a part one. Right. But let me show you this last thing I want to say. Henry Nouwen says this. When we honestly ask ourselves which person in our lives mean the most to us, we often find that it is those who, instead of giving advice, solutions, or cures, have chosen rather to share our pain and touch our wounds with a warm and tender hand. The friend who can be silent with us in a moment of despair or confusion, who can stay with us in an hour of grief and bereavement, who can tolerate not knowing, not curing, not healing, and face with us the reality of our powerlessness, is a friend who cares. What he said to me was not advice. He didn't say, I think, he just, as a friend, he said, why don't you just tell him to stop? And I received it. It didn't feel, I tell you, I hate unsolicited advice. I hate when people tell you what you should do and you're like, you don't even know. You have no idea what you're talking about. The people that used to, none of y'all, but the people that used to advise me the most when the church was really big are people who had no managerial experience. Like some of the stuff they would suggest to me, I would say, like for instance, people would say, why don't you just tell us what the breakdown is of the bills and we'll know. I said, we do an annual business meeting, you see that, but if I were the average person, if I was to tell you a light bill is $50,000, most of you would be like, what? But that's what something on this scale, that's what it costs. I don't want to burden you with that. I would like to preach the gospel and not walk out on the stage every Sunday and go, we've got $100,000 bill, snapping show. That's not what you want to come to church for. So some of the stuff that people would suggest me to do, I'm like, thank you so much. I know your heart's in the right place, but how about this? I won't tell you what to do on your job. And you know what I also used to notice? The people that gave the least had the most input. The people who actually tithers and givers, they're like, you're a pastor, we don't care. Do your thing. Why? Because they're successful people who are running their own households. What? I'm going to put a comma right there. Does this make sense to you?
It does.
Does it resonate?
It does.
Does it tell you that there might be some things just very simply you need to tweak?
Yes.
That you might need to say to an ancestor who's crossed over, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to. If you want to have an ancestor who looks after you and is a guardian angel, that's fine. But you don't need somebody micromanaging on stuff that they don't know anything about. Hold that thought. Let's all stand. What was that applause for? Why are you applauding?
It resonates with me. I mean, something so simple as even driving. Sometimes, I'm a fast driver. I want the couple to get out of my way, but sometimes after a flat, it might be going through something, so.
Well, exactly. I mean, everybody was fine at Stone Mountain the other night. But, I'm looking like, why would you bring a stroller out here? This is no place. Then I think, well, you know what? It's none of my business. I mean, if they want to have this experience with their family, they're pushing the stroller, not me. Why do I even have an opinion about it? And, when I'm stuck in the parking lot and can't get out, like, well, you knew there was going to be a traffic jam, so why are you? It is what it is. You have gas in the car. You just sit here. Also, I'm not going to let that person trying to sneak in. Oh, no, you're not. I've been sitting there for 45 minutes. You are not wedging in here. I love you and all, but oh, no. I've been saying, no, you don't get to drive in here at the last minute. I don't think so. And there was a sweet country white redneck woman with about 3 teeth up here. But she was sitting on the edge of the thing. And she said, if one more person tries to walk over me, I'm going to hit him. I said, lady, do what you got to do. We got to do. She's trying to explain to us. I said, it works for me. They're walking on my feet too. Do what you got to do. But yes, exactly.
I think a lot of times people don't put themselves in other people's position, what I mean? And if we did, this world would be so different.
My original title was about empathy because and let me tell you about empathy. It doesn't mean you condone even what somebody does. It's trying to understand what makes you do this or say that. It's just, it will help you to try to get, even just something as simple as finding out about my grandmother. My dad was raised with that. Of course he was that way. In his mind, that's good parenting. He wasn't trying to be a jerk about it. He's trying to keep us clean because that's what Grandmother Kate said you got to do. She was a little extreme on it. And I also understand why she might have been extreme. She was a poor woman out in the country, didn't have anything. So keeping what little bit of stuff she had clean was very important. Anybody else? What you think?
The fruit of the Spirit is very important. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, kindness, meekness. Against such there is no law. That's the fruit. And that's what you described about the fruit of the Spirit in your situation. And of course in ours as well. But that's very important.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring in the gentleness piece, because gentleness says, all right, why are you that way? Maybe if you can explain to me why you are the way you are, okay, now I understand.
Or even vice versa, for yourself.
Exactly. Well, that's why I was mad at myself for getting so upset. Like, why does this upset me so much? And I realized because there's a part of me that's embarrassed that I don't know how to do stuff.
Because it makes you feel inadequate.
Exactly. And I don't want to call my boys, no, I don't want to do that. He knows my limitations, so I'm like, you do it. I was so happy this morning because he got this new shirt, and I said, he had wrinkles in it. I said, I've got a steamer. He'd never steamed anything, and I said, you just do it like this. And he said, oh, that's really cool. I said, I'm so happy I can show you something. Like, it's really easy. You just plug it in, and when he said, what do I do when it's this? I said, just unplug it. It's fine. How did you not know that? Because when it's in my area, like public speaking, I could do this asleep. I could do this in my pajamas. Like I've never, I have no sense of stage fright at all. Other people would keel over and die if they had to do it. But it's all what you're used to. What?
So Jim, what you touched on about what Ed said, from the beginning of mankind, as far as we know, there's always been them over there on the other side.
Yeah.
We never have figured out the dotted the I's and the T's, but I turned 70 in September, and in my 70 years, I think the older I live, the more I believe there's something to that, of them on the other side, whether it's their energy,
No doubt.
their presence, and I've even reached the point where I'll sit in my garden house in the evening and try to call Mama to me.
Yeah.
And I was doing that one time, and a light came on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there you are, girl.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You know, but there's something.
Yeah.
Nobody has the answer. I don't care. The greatest
Absolutely.
people in the world have expounded upon it, but there's something to it at times. We always say when we buy a dying child or in tragic moments, we call for it.
Yeah.
We call for those ancestors.
Well, and that's why, to weave all those threads together, what he said was in gentleness. It wasn't like, you tell him to get the hell out of the house. It wasn't like that at all. It's like, tell him to stop. You don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to protect these things that you took great pride in, and you should have.
I've had many experiences. One, I've preached nieces, not nieces, but a second cousin's funeral, who was all on the news, 15-year-old high school party in Henry County, drive-by, shot and killed. And my cousin Danny, it was his granddaughter, and it like to kill me when he got that call. And so he called me and said, Daddy, you dedicated her when she was a little girl. We want you to preach her funeral. And I laid across my bed that afternoon. And like, my God, how can I comfort these people? And my Granny Bradshaw appeared to me with my Aunt Lydia and my mom. And they said, we heard the shot when it happened. And we got her.
Oh my God.
And
Did you say that at the funeral?
I did. I told them. I said,
Woo!
the vision laid across my bed, and they're like,
Shoot,
we're
Eddie.
aware of what's going on right now.
Jesus.
And it just stuck with me. There's something to
Woo!
that of them on the other side. They know what. Your dad knows that big old ugly black refrigerator he bought that thing. You know,
Right.
but they're aware of what goes on over here. I believe that.
Completely.
I believe that too.
Well, when Saul went to the witch of Endor, he said, I need Samuel to prophesy over me, and Samuel appeared to him.
And I love it that I have faith that they're out
Absolutely.
there over there around me. They
Absolutely.
Might be here this morning. Your dad might be sitting right there and say, "You sure are long-winded today." He might be critiquing your message today.
It could be. It could be. It's within the realm of possibility. Well, let's at least do one more week, because I think this may be important.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
I'm tired of folks sitting back judging you, and they ain't walked a mile in your shoes. They don't know where you've been, who you talk to, how you minister all hours of the day and night. How many folks got your telephone number and they have easy access to you, and you allow that to happen? How many preachers allow that to happen? Not many. And they got so much to say about you. And they sitting back in your face telling you, oh, I think you bitter. Shut your mouth, because you don't know, because I have cared for 2 elderly parents. And I was there when they both crossed over. And that's a very hard journey to travel. So they need to shut their mouth and mind their business and take care of their life and let you do what you can, because you are the shepherd of this house.
Now she gonna come get him.
And I mean that thing, you hear me?
You know what Sandy?
I believe.
Hey, you know what Sandy would call that? A Swilley
Fred,
guy.
I'm looking at Fred's face. Like,
I'm tired of it. I hope you got me too. Open up all the mics, tell everybody, shut their mouth and listen. Exactly, he gonna be there. You done left the church, and all of a sudden somebody calling to my, you still my pastor? Will you please come and preach? My baby just crossed over. He right there, but you got so much to say about it. No, I'm tired of it now.
What are you trying to say? Exactly.
He told the folks in my job how I felt about
Time to meditate.
Well then, I don't think anybody can follow that. Thank you, Ross. No, I know. You're right or die. I know. We don't have to do the outro. Y'all know what to do. Just if you have a check, make the JSN. If you have cash, pay it forward. I pray over this month, whatever we're going to unearth this month, let it be done in gentleness. Let it be toward healing.
Yes.
That no one is uncomfortable. We honor the legacy of our foreparents, our parents. I honor my father. I don't mean to say anything negative about him. I'm trying to understand how generations work so that I can fulfill the prophecy over my life that I was born to unlock the door to men's souls. And it's the thrust of my ministry. It's the thrust of this ministry. We want to bring healing in the earth, healing to generations. The spirit of Elijah to turn the hearts of the fathers to the son, lest you come and smite the earth with a curse. Let there be a blessing on all of us. And I pray that something I said today will stir up somebody else in their personal metron to do some investigation to see if there's something that they need to say. We speak to the mountain and the mountain moves. Be blessed. Love you so much. Thank you. Thanks, man.